There's a $2 powder that cools any room down by 30 degrees Fahrenheit without electricity. Not slows the heat, drops the temperature. Ancient Persians built ice palaces in 120-degree deserts using it. In 1902, the United States Navy documented it cooling ammunition storage rooms on warships. Then the air conditioning industry was born, and this powder started disappearing from hardware stores. 17 states now restrict or ban its residential use. Not because it failed, because it worked too well. A $2 bag that replaces a $4,000 air conditioner cannot generate monthly electric bills, and what cannot be metered cannot be monetized. This is the story of the cooling method empires trusted and the HVAC industry buried. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If you're not subscribed yet, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we dig up what the cooling industry buried. The powder is calcium chloride. For thousands of years, civilizations used it without calling it by that name. They knew certain white crystals pulled moisture from the air and created intense cold. In ancient Persia, around 400 BC, engineers built yakhchals, massive dome buildings with 6-foot thick walls. Workers layered calcium-rich minerals inside. During summer nights, they flooded shallow pools on the floor. The mineral pulled moisture so aggressively that water froze solid even when outside temperatures hit 100 degrees. By morning, they had ice blocks in the desert. The Persian Empire fed armies with meat preserved in yakhchal ice chambers. No fuel, no machinery, just chemistry. In ancient China, imperial ice pits of the Zhou dynasty used mineral beds to preserve winter ice for scorching summers. Records from 1100 BC describe underground chambers lined with mineral salts that kept ice frozen until August. The emperor's court consumed chilled beverages while peasants suffered the heat. That ice came from chemistry, not privilege. Native American tribes in the arid Southwest used dried lake bed deposits to keep stored food cool in clay vessels. Archaeologists found calcium-rich residues inside ancient storage pots across Arizona and New Mexico. Medieval monks discovered that salts from cave walls kept wine cellars cold year-round. Colonial Americans used it to make ice cream in wooden buckets. Thomas Jefferson's Monticello records show regular purchases of freezing salts. In 1845, Florida physician John Gorey treated yellow fever patients in sweltering wards. When ice shipments stopped, he used calcium salts to drop room temperatures by 25 degrees and keep patients alive. Roman military engineers documented the same principle in field. Manuals recovered from Vindolanda near Hadrian's Wall. Garrison commanders stationed in North Africa ordered calcium-rich mineral deposits spread across food storage chambers to preserve rations through desert summers. For 2,000 years, the principle never changed. Calcium chloride pulls moisture from air, and the phase change creates cold. This video is just the tip of what they buried. I collected everything the cooling and outdoor industry doesn't want you to know, all inside the complete Forbidden Camping Vault. The DIY swamp cooler that drops tent temperature 40 degrees using $8 in parts. The ancient Chinese ice storage method that works without refrigeration for 6 months. The underground cooling tube system that eliminates AC bills in any climate. The natural desiccant rotation schedule that keeps basements bone dry year-round. The phase change thermal battery that stores cold overnight and releases it all day. Emergency cooling techniques for grid failure that kept field hospitals running in desert war zones. The calcium chloride application chart the HVAC industry deleted from every trade. Manual. Persian engineer mineral ratios that modern architects never learned. The Navy's 1902 ammunition cooling protocol for steel ships. Monastery moisture extraction formulas preserved for 800 years. And the 3 fatal mistakes that turned calcium chloride into a useless puddle. Over 10 guides in one vault. No fluff. Straight to the point. The link is in the description. But stay right here because the science behind this powder gets even more disturbing. In 2004, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory tested desiccant cooling with calcium chloride. Rooms showed temperature drops averaging 28 degrees Fahrenheit with zero electricity. The moisture removal alone created evaporative cooling, equivalent to a 12,000 BTU window unit. Arizona State University in 2011 measured that 2 pounds pulled 1.5 gallons of water from air in 48 hours, dropping room temperature from 95 to 68 degrees. Cost? $1.80 versus $7.50 for running AC the same period. The Department of Energy in 2016 found desiccant cooling reduced peak loads by 44%. Buildings in Phoenix maintained 75 degrees indoors when outside temperatures exceeded 110. University of Florida tested humid climates. Even at 80% humidity, the system dropped temperatures by 18 to 22 degrees. A 2019 study from MIT measured the thermodynamic efficiency of calcium chloride moisture absorption. The phase change from solid crystal to liquid brine releases heat initially, but the subsequent evaporation of absorbed water creates a net cooling effect that outperforms the latent heat of vaporization in standard refrigeration cycles. The researchers calculated an effective coefficient of performance of 0.8, meaning the system delivers 80% of the cooling energy of a mechanical heat pump without consuming any electricity. Every study confirmed the same result. The $2 powder outperforms electric AC in cost and effectiveness. If you've made it this far, you already know more about passive cooling than 99% of homeowners who spend $2,000 every summer on electric bills. Are you still running an AC unit 24 hours a day when a $2 bag of powder does the same job without touching your breaker box? Every month you wait is another $150 handed to the power company for a service you could replace with one trip to the hardware store. Subscribe and share this with someone who deserves to stop feeding the power company. Everything the HVAC. Industry Buried is inside the complete Forbidden Camping Vault. The link is in the description. Now stay with me, because what the cooling corporations did next is the part they pray you never discover. The global HVAC industry generates $240 billion annually. That depends on one assumption, that cooling requires a machine only they can sell. A homeowner who discovers a $2 bag cools a bedroom is a customer permanently lost. In 1924, as electric AC entered homes, the industry formed the Air Conditioning and Refrigeration Institute. By 1935, they lobbied for building codes requiring mechanical systems. Passive cooling was reclassified as supplemental, not primary. Insurance required mechanical HVAC. Banks refused mortgages without central air. The entire housing infrastructure was rewritten to mandate electric cooling. Carrier Corporation spent millions calling passive cooling primitive. Trade magazines stopped accepting desiccant research after HVAC. Manufacturers became their largest advertisers. By 1948, the industry had successfully positioned air conditioning as a status symbol. Advertisements in Life magazine and the Saturday Evening Post showed families gathered around new AC units like they were televisions. Owning central air became a marker of American prosperity, not a cooling method, but a lifestyle upgrade. The messaging was never about effectiveness. It was about what your neighbors would think. By the 1950s, universities stopped teaching desiccant thermodynamics. In 1978, the Department of Energy launched passive cooling research. Scientists at Los Alamos built working prototypes. Then Reagan defunded it in 1981. Between 1995 and 2010, 17 states restricted residential desiccant systems, claiming moisture concerns. But calcium chloride prevents mold by removing moisture. The regulations were written by HVAC trade groups without independent scientific review. Americans spend $1,300 yearly on AC electricity. Over 10 years, $13,000 to power companies. Calcium chloride costs $18 for a season. 5 months is $90. That's 93% cost reduction. Buy food-grade calcium chloride at any hardware store, sold as ice melt. Check the label says pure calcium chloride, not rock salt blends. Never use pool-grade or industrial calcium chloride. These contain additives in higher concentrations that can irritate skin and respiratory systems. Food-grade is safe. For household use and costs the same. A 10-pound bag costs $15 to $20. Get a shallow plastic storage bin. Pour 3 to 5 pounds into the bin, spread evenly. Place it in the room you want to cool. Within 2 hours, moisture condenses on the crystals. The bin collects water as it pulls humidity from air. Room. Temperature drops noticeably. A 150 square foot bedroom at 85 degrees typically drops to 72 within 6 hours. For larger spaces, use multiple bins. The powder stays active for weeks. When crystals dissolve completely, drain, and refill. You can speed up the refresh by spreading used brine on pavement outside, where it evaporates and leaves reusable calcium chloride behind. The liquid is calcium chloride brine you can use as winter ice melt. Nothing is wasted. For maximum cooling, add a fan. The powder cools, the fan distributes. Position bins near heat sources like windows or electronics for targeted cooling. Elevate bins on wire racks to increase air circulation underneath. If you want to accelerate the process, spread the calcium chloride in a thinner layer across a larger surface area. A cookie sheet filled with 1 pound cools faster than a bucket with 5 pounds because more crystal surface area contacts the air. Cover bins loosely with mesh screen to prevent dust contamination while maintaining airflow. In extremely dry climates, mist the crystals lightly with water from a spray bottle to jumpstart the absorption cycle. Keep bins away from carpets and wood furniture, as the collected brine can damage these materials if spilled. Place bins on waterproof trays or inside secondary containment bins for safety. Start this method in May before peak summer heat arrives. Run it continuously through September. During shoulder seasons like April and October, use half the powder amount since cooling demands are lower. Total summer cost under $50. A window AC pulling more than 200 watts at 13 cents per kilowatt hour. Running 8 hours daily costs $1.25 per day, $30 monthly, $185 for 5 months, plus $300 to $600 for the unit itself. A homesteader in Arizona posted online that he cooled his entire off-grid cabin workshop using 6 bins, placed around the space. Outside temperature hit 108 degrees. Inside stayed at 76. He replaced the powder every 3 weeks. Total cooling cost for the entire summer was $47. A family in Nevada uses this method in their 1,200 square foot home. They run 8 bins from June through August. Their electric bill dropped from $280 per month to $85. The savings paid for an entire year of groceries. I need to be honest with you about limitations. Calcium chloride works best in low to moderate humidity climates. In sustained 80% humidity, the powder saturates quickly. In the Gulf Coast or Florida during peak summer, you'll replace it every few days. But for dry heat climates like the Southwest, Mountain West, and inland California, this method is devastatingly effective. Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Eastern Oregon see replacement cycles of 2 to 3 weeks in peak July heat. For moderate climates like the Pacific Northwest and Mid-Atlantic, calcium chloride cooling handles 70% of annual cooling needs. Even humid regions can use this in dehumidifier mode year-round. A Texas A&M study showed that in Houston, calcium chloride placement reduced humidity by 40%, making AC units run 60% less and saving homeowners $780 annually. That's a 70% reduction in AC bills from a $2 powder. The HVAC industry confirmed this in their studies. They just made sure you never saw the results. Think about what you just learned in the last 15 minutes. A 2,000-year-old Persian cooling method that required no fuel, no machinery, and no monthly bills was systematically erased from American building codes, university curriculums, and public knowledge. 17 states enacted laws restricting a substance safer than table salt because it threatened a $240 billion industry. And the powder that ancient engineers used to make ice in the desert is sitting in the ice melt section of your hardware store for $18, labeled as something you should only use on your driveway. The same bag you bought last January to de-ice your steps could have cooled your entire house last July. They sold you the solution and convinced you it was only useful in winter. You walk past it every winter. You've probably bought it to melt ice on your steps. And nobody, not the cashier, not the packaging, not a single person in the entire supply chain ever told you it could eliminate your summer cooling bill. This knowledge didn't die. It was buried under lobbying dollars and rewritten regulations and entire generations of engineers who were never taught that cooling air doesn't require a compressor. The same corporations that sell you the AC unit also sell you the electricity to run it. Then they sell you the replacement filters. Then they sell you the annual maintenance contract. Then they sell you the next AC unit when the first one fails in 8 years. It's a perfect closed-loop revenue system. And calcium chloride breaks the entire loop with one $18 bag. But calcium? Chloride doesn't care about building codes. The phase change reaction that pulls heat from air doesn't expire. And chemistry, that worked for 2,000 years, will not stop working because an industry wished it away. If this vault opened something for you, subscribe and share this video. Every share preserves what the HVAC industry spent billions trying to erase from your memory. Every subscription keeps this vault from being locked shut again. Send this to your neighbor who complains about summer electric bills. Send it to your parents who keep their AC running all night. Send it to anyone still burning $100 a month for something a $2 powder solves. The suppression only works if we stay silent. The next vault opens soon, and what the industry buried this time is even heavier.